that speed drying up a little bit. But there's definitely 25 home run pop in the bat. I don't think it's going to be at shortstop. It's probably going to be in left field. Maybe a right field. It does have a pretty strong arm. I don't think he stays in the dirt. His big problem, even though it's only 25% strikeout rate, is contact. And his approach can be very aggressive. So that's the thing that he needs to focus on, is just becoming a better hitter. And I think that's going to be the thing that kind of pulls him down and pulls his overall ceiling down, is just his ability to hit and his ability to make contact. Because he typically is a 30% strikeout rate guy. I mean, could he turn into a Jorge Soler type of guy where it's just massive raw power that he hits 230 with a 300 on base percentage, and that's who that guy is? He could become that guy, and unless he picks up on his, improves on his contact ability. Again, good strong start in the first month of his season. Let's see where he is at the end of the season. It's probably going to be backed up to that 30% strikeout rate. And you might not care. You might say, look, Wilson, you spend too much time on batting average, on base percentage. I don't play that. That's a random statistic. Some years you have guys that get high batting average of balls in play, and I get a high batting average. And some years I get a guy with a low batting average of balls in play, and I just deal with the low batting average. It's one category. I think the ability to hit and the ability to get on base dictates a lot how much playing time a young player gets. That's why I spend so much time on it. You can obviously disagree with that, and that is absolutely fine. Let me take a break, and when we get back, let's continue on with the list. It's interesting. I was actually having a debate with a guy about O'Neal Cruz, speaking of batting average and on-base percentage. I was trying to bring up a spreadsheet that I did all the work on. And he was talking about with how hard O'Neal Cruz hits the ball, even with a 35% strikeout rate, this guy has a chance to be a star. And I'm like, whoa. Find me a player who has a 35% strikeout rate in the big leagues that's hitting above 230. And you can't, right? Because the guy with a 35%, the only guy with a 35% strikeout rate in the league is Patrick Wisdom. He's 34.9. He's hitting 212. Everybody else has got something less than that. So the fact that nobody in the big leagues has a 35% strikeout rate is telling, right? I mean, it's just those guys typically don't make it. But here's the math. So if you get a 500 plate appearance guy, and he strikes out 35% of the time, and let's say because O'Neal Cruz is going to hit the ball so hard, let's put his BABIP at 35%. It means he's going to hit about 225. He's going to have an on-base percentage of 325 because I put his walk rate at 10%. And the home runs are the same. That same guy who strikes out 30% of the time, it does exactly the same thing, improves his batting average and his on-base percentage by 25 points. So all of a sudden you got a 250, 350 guy versus a 225, 325 guy. That makes a huge difference. Like, you've got, and the way batting average balls in play works, if you strike out 5% less from 35 to 30, that means 25 more balls are going to be put into play. And if you have a 250 batting average, then 25% of those, that's 6-7 more hits. You could do damage with those 6 or 7 more hits. So that's why if you strike out a lot, there's nothing you can do to impact the game. You are out. If you put the ball in play, the outfielder, the infielder can make an error. You can get a hit. You can hit a home run. You could do a lot of things. If you strike out, there is nothing that you can do to impact the game. That's why strikeouts are so vitally important, to keep that down. It gives you a chance to be a better player. And you can say, well, Wilson, so what, 6 or 7 more hits? A guy like O'Neal Cruz could hit, one or two of those could be home runs, and that could win a baseball game. And that's how teams look at it. That's why they want to keep that strikeout rate down. I don't think Oneil Cruz is going to have a 35% strikeout rate. The guy was just saying, look, even if he has a 35% strikeout rate, he hits the ball so hard, he's going to have a high BABIP. Could. But guess what? There are 8 enemies out there with something called a glove that are trying to stop you from getting hits. And a lot of those guys run fast, and a lot of those guys can really pick it at their position. And hits get taken away. And I would be, knowing that there are defenders out there, you want to have as many chances to put the ball in play. That's why relying on a guy to be a very good baseball player because he carries a high batting average of balls in play is just, I think, a fool's gamble there, right? Because you're truly gambling on the guy being able to hit the ball hard, sneak hits in, and use his speed to do that. And I think that's tough because one year they'll have a 240 batting average of balls in play, and the guy will hit 180 and won't be playing. Let's continue on. Number 6 is Everson Pereira with the New York Yankees. He is an outfielder. He is in high A. He is 21 years old. He was 14 for 29, 4 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 6 strikeouts, and 1 walk. For the season, 273, 356 on base percentage, 6 home runs, 14 stolen bases. He does strike out a little bit too much at 27% and a 11% walk rate. I've actually seen him last year. I saw him again this year. He's got big time bat speed. First of all, it was a big international signee by the Yankees several years ago. He's been slow to develop. He's had some injuries along the way, but I think the bat speed is pretty robust, and I think that's going to translate into 20-plus home run pop at the highest level. I saw him last year. He was chasing too many pitches. I saw him this year. He's still chasing too many pitches. So if he can get a better control of the strike zones, maybe stop being as aggressive as he is, and just be able to tell breaking pitches better, I think he has a chance to be a very, very good player. The speed out there currently, I don't think that speed lasts that long because it's a pretty big guy already. But he will get eaten alive once he gets to Double A, and particularly once he moves up, if he continues to chase pitches out of the strike zone. Sliders, definitely, he'll swing at a slider no matter what. I mean, he is lunging after those pitches. I've seen 4 or 5 games now of him playing, and that's just been his brand. So it's something that he's got to work through, and the Yankees got to help him improve that. Everson Pereira, though, a very, very good prospect. Speed and power for sure. Number 7 is Vaughn Grissom, Vaughn, Vaughn, Grissom, Grissom. He is a shortstop. He is with Atlanta. He is in high A. He is 21 years old. I think they also have him playing all over the field. 16 for 31 this past week, 2 home runs, probably 3 stolen bases, 2 strikeouts, and 3 walks for the season. 296 batting average, a 384 on-base percentage, 8 home runs, 14 stolen bases, a 13% strikeout rate, and a 9.5% walk rate. That is a thing of beauty. Granted, it's only in high A, but this is a guy that can really hit. There's enough speed and power for me to project him as a full-time regular with 15 upside, probably at second base. I do not think he stays at shortstop long term, which is even better from a fantasy standpoint. Now, again, the Atlanta Braves have pretty good second baseman there in Ozzie Albies, who's signed for the next 4 or 5 years. How does all that work? I don't know. But I've been playing the Dynasty League game long enough, and you got to stick with the talent. You can't try to project what the Braves are going to do with a guy in high A that they project to hit at second base when that position is full. Something will happen. Ozzie Albies could move off that position. They could try Vaughn in the outfield. If he can hit, which he can, and if he can produce, which I think he can, they will find a place for him. Number 8 is a very famous guy, and it is Robert Hassell. He is an outfielder. He is with San Diego. He is in high A. He is 20 years old. He was 10 for 28 this past week, a home run, 3 stolen bases, 3 strikeouts, and 3 walks. And for the season, a 317 average, a 383 on-base percentage, 8 home runs, 18 stolen bases, and he can really hit with a 19% strikeout rate and a 9.5 walk rate. It was an impressive season last year, and he's done nothing but just kept on hitting this year. I'm surprised actually he has not been promoted up to Double-A. I expect that to happen very soon. And how good can he hit? It wouldn't surprise me at all if he's in the big leagues one day and wins a batting title. I think he's got great hand-eye coordination, a beautiful swing. There's definitely plus speed there, and I think that speed sticks. So he could be a 20 stolen base guy, but I don't think. Could he be a 20-20 guy? I think so. But it'd be more like a 15, 20, 25 guy to me who can really hit. We're talking his fantasy ceiling is a top 30 fantasy player. We're talking a round, first round, second round kind of pick. Tools aren't nearly as loud as Julio Rodriguez. He's a better hitter than Julio Rodriguez. And by the way, Julio Rodriguez has got a 30% strikeout rate and probably a crazy BABIP to support all that, at least the last I looked. So, there could be some correction coming with Julio Rodriguez. And look, again, I love the player. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually typing his name in now while I'm speaking to you to really take a look at what his BABIP is. But, that's what's really fueling his success this season. Again, he's only 21 years old, but it just shows you, he's hitting 272 with a 370 batting average of balls in play. He's striking out 29.5% of the time. So there could be a correction coming with Julio Rodriguez. And if you told me that he ends the season hitting 240, 230, wouldn't be surprised because that batting average of balls in play could correct down 30 or 40 points. And with that comes his batting average. So just be aware of that, and before you write, his name on the Rookie of the Year trophy, watch out for Bobby Witt Jr., who is continuing to show pop and speed, and will probably end the season at 20-20, and I bet you hit more than Julio Rodriguez. That's not to mean I don't love Julio Rodriguez. I really do. Anyway, back to Robert Hassell. Robert Hassell's top 15 prospect for me. Guy can hit. There's plus speed there and enough power for him to kind of be that classic leadoff guy, though San Diego always puts Tatis Jr. at the top, and why not? Hassell could hit second. He has a chance to be an explosive and particularly an explosive fantasy player. Let me go to number 10, which is Zac Veen. And Zac Veen and Robert Hassell have been linked at the hip since they were first drafted in the same year. Different kind of players. Hassell's the better hitter. Veen has got the louder tools. So it really depends on how you want to play the game. Veen is an outfielder. He's in Colorado. He's in high A. He is also 20 years old, a few months older than Hassell, if I recall. He was 6 for 22, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 7 strikeouts, and 3 walks. And for the season, a 258 batting average, a 365 on-base percentage, 8 home runs, 24 stolen bases, a 24% strikeout rate, and a 14% walk rate. So you can see a little bit more plate patience even than Hassell, but doesn't nearly make as good of contact. But he's got more speed than Hassell does, more power, in my opinion, than Hassell does. And I do think he could become a 20-20 performer. Though, is he going to hit 260 with a 340 on-base percentage? He could, with Hassell's doing a 300, 370. But I think there's definitely going to be more speed, and there's probably going to be more home run pop there. So it just depends. He's playing half his games in Coors Field. Who do you want long term? You're picking between your children there. I think both of those guys have a chance to be impact players. In fact, I've got his fantasy ceiling as a first-round draft pick versus Hassell. I pushed down to potentially a second-round pick just because I don't know how explosive those tools are going to be. But Zac Veen, for me, with the tool set that he has, I do think he has a chance, to kind of wind up in the first round. The ninth guy is another. This is probably another crazy tooled up kid that's had a great week. Not sure what to do with him because he is a kid that I struggle with guys like this. And that's Elly De La Cruz. I think this is the second time making the list. He is a second baseman. He is with Cincinnati. He is in high